Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Restaurant Table Booking App video series part 9, automating time slot generation with Azure Timer Function. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through a new concept in Azure services called Azure Functions. In AWS, they call it as Lambda, and each cloud provider has its own equivalent thing, right? So we are going to focus on Azure Functions, and I will also show you what is the need of this function and what this is going to help us in our application to automate the things. Come, let's get started. Alright, on the screen, I'm going to execute these two things. Alright, and you can see the result here. So basically, a restaurant has 4 tables, and each of these 4 tables may or may not be applicable for every single meal. So if I have a restaurant branch, if I'm owning a branch, morning I will say I have 4 tables free available, and in afternoon I'll say 4, but dinner maybe 2 tables are broken. In the evening or something, I just have 2 tables, right? Just assume that. So basically what we're trying to do is 2 days before this program, the function that we're going to build, it is going to run a piece of code and see if there is and this piece of code will run, take every branch and take its dining tables and insert into time slot tables. And which means if I run this the next set of queries, basically we are saying the dining table ID is right, that will be allocated on these days. So 1 2 3 4 is basically belongs to branch 1. They are available for breakfast. The same tables are available for lunch. Same set of tables available for dinner. This is going to help us to book the tables, the dining tables from the user perspective. And this is what the Azure function is going to do. Okay, so what we are going to do, we need to go and query this table like this, and then this will tell these are the branches whose last available reservation date is this date. So until 3rd of August, as of this recording, we are 2 days behind. So until 3rd of August, the restaurant is open. You can go and book the dining table. Even for going to on 3rd, I can go and book for this branch. And this is what we are going to automate. The first thing that we are going to see this Azure function in Visual Studio IDE, and followed by in the next video I'll show you how to provision it and how it works in the Azure portal. So I have already built this application, but I'm going to show you from first. Okay, so let's think that we are going to create a new project. Click on new project and you can search for Azure functions. For me it is already coming, so I'll choose this, click on next, and here I just need to provide the Azure functions. So I'm going to just give a name. I'm going to give you the whole code, but just for the understanding, so this is a new project, and then what it will do is it will ask you to choose what kind of trigger that you want and all those things. So basically, if you look at the version, right, you have 6, 7 and isolated. Isolated is a different concept, but overall the base is all the same. So let's choose the 6.0 long-term version, and we will enable the web storage, and then it is asking us to choose the function. If you look at this, there are a lot of functions here, right? So I have separate videos already for Azure functions in detail, but basically we are going to do something called HTTP timer function. HTTP timer function is like you create a function and keep it there when the time comes, like every 6 hours or every 12 o'clock in the morning, whatsoever you define. Based on the timer, that function will get invoked, and automatically the automatic process that we wanted to happen will happen. So let's consider we are going to do a function called timer trigger. Okay, you can choose HTTP trigger if you have to invoke that endpoint, but let's say we're going to choose the timer trigger. And the moment you choose timer trigger, this is called con operation. Okay, so this one will tell us, if I click on the schedule, it's going to tell us what is the frequency of this is getting triggered. So we'll talk about this in a moment. So let's click on whatever it is. So the expression that you saw is called the con expression, and here's the details of that. So first one is the second minutes, hours, day, month, day of the week. So if you specify 0, 5, star, 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 once every 5 hours of the day at minute 5 for each hour. So this is the details of this expression. So we will focus on the implementation of this. So basically we are going to do for every 6 hours. So now you know how to create the function. So let's see the function that I've already created. Alright, so this function is the time slot generation function. So we have a function name, we have a con expression. Every 12 hours it's going to run, and then we have the parameters called the my timer, log, and the context. Here the context is the execution context. Okay, now what we are going to do is basically, like I said, we will first run. Okay, so before we run, basically what this piece of code is doing is we have something called local settings. This is equivalent to the app settings. So here I have the DB context, my SQL server connection string. Okay, and then basically we are trying to build the configuration. Okay, we will take the DB context connection string from this using and then take it in the connection string variable. Now the rest of the things are just a logic. So if you remember this query is the query that we saw in the here, right? So when this query is executed, each branch will be displayed. So we are going to run this piece of query and load all its branch data into a variable. Once we have these branch details, we are going to loop through every single branch, which we are doing here. We loop through every single branch and take its last reservation date, which is in this case 3rd of August. Once you take that, we are seeing whether the current date is within the maximum 2 days. Current date as of recording is 1st, and which means 2nd, 3rd. Alright, so this 2 days has already run. So if let's say, okay, let's consider this. So let's consider this as 2nd. Okay, I'm going to delete and show you. So what happens is, if the date is not matching, which means we need to insert a time slot for each branch ID. So then the next set of things are, go and take all the dining table details for a particular branch. So in our case, branch 1 will have 4 tables. Take all the 4 tables and then insert the dining table, the time slot record into each one of the, and then what it will do, it will take a branch, its dining table, and formats the data and insert into the time slot table. Okay, so insert into time slot, we are passing dining table ID, reservation date, meal type, status, that's it. So these 4 will be automatically populated here. Okay, so that is what this piece of code is doing. Now we cannot test the timer function from here, from this. The only thing that we can test is the HTTP trigger, okay, or the durable functions. Now HTTP trigger will have an endpoint. Timer function will not have endpoint because no one is going to invoke them. So I have the same logic here. I'm going to show you how it works when we run this. Alright, so the same logic in 2 functions just for our understanding. One is the HTTP timer and one is the HTTP trigger. Because I'm running it from local, this endpoint has come. So if you invoke this endpoint, it will work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and take a breakpoint here. So if I hit this endpoint, which is happening from the browser, you see this, because it was hitting from the browser, we got this endpoint triggered. If I just navigate through each one of this line of code, connection string is received, and then we're opening up the connection, we execute a particular query, and we will insert into branch. Now let's run this. You should have 5 branches. This is what we saw in the SQL query also. right? All right, so let's close this. What else? So let's go through each one of them. So we're checking the date, the records are present, so it's not going inside. But when it will go, let's consider deleting certain records. So I'm going to delete every single record after this date. 360 records got deleted. Now I'm going to trigger the same function one more time. Now this time, if you go inside the branch, I'm going to run this. We received it. See, the current date is this date. The reservation date that we saw was. So if you look at this, because the reservation date is less than the current date, we need to insert the record. So it's coming inside this. It's going to execute and get all the running tables for a given branch. And once we have the running tables, what it will do, it will go through every single running table and will insert this record. Once everything is done, it's going to complete the process. Let's remove all the breakpoint. Let's run this. Okay, done. Let's go back to SQL and let's run this again. See, everything got inserted again. Great. That's what the function is all about. Okay, so once we build this function, in the next video I'll tell you how to provision this, and we will put this into real Azure function, and it will automatically trigger every day twice. And as and when we build the UI, we don't need to really worry about the branches, and it's running table slots automatically 2 days before it get populated. Okay, feel free to modify this logic for your purpose, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more tech tutorials. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified when we post new videos. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Happy coding!